Hey, what's up, YouTube? I'm Brian Pfeiffer, aka the Marketing Meathead, and today I'm going to talk to you about going to college versus becoming an entrepreneur. And I'm somebody who's done both. All right, welcome back. Please look at the disclaimer. Even though we're not talking about making money today, we're talking about a real life decision. And I think I'm definitely a good person to, give advice on this subject, considering I've been to college. I've been to a 2-year, I finished a 4-year, and then I went on to get my master's degree, okay? And since then, I've started a business. 15 years I've owned my own business, and actually went kind of back to school, but not actual real school. I probably spent about 200 grand in masterminds in education. For, reinventing myself and my business in the last 4 to 5 years. So I think I have a pretty good understanding of, the both paths since I've been down both of them. And it's funny because I watched another internet marketer do a very similar presentation to this, speaking to people about whether to go to college or become an entrepreneur. And the guy has never been to college. So, how do you tell someone whether to go to college or not if you've never experienced college? Unfortunately, I don't think somebody like that can give people really good advice on either subject if you've never been down both paths. I have been, and I'm looking forward to giving you guys a nice breakdown here of both. Let's get started, okay? So I put down some, I kind of went through a list today of, pluses and minuses. A lot of my viewers are young and are kind of making the decision whether to become an entrepreneur, start their own business. I also have a lot of older people that are baby boomer type age that have kids or even grandkids in some cases that are deciding whether to go to college or whatnot. So I thought this would be a good video just because of my wide range of people. And I think at some level it's going to touch you. You might know someone that's going to go to college. It might be you going to or potentially going to college or making a decision whether to go to college. So let's get into the pluses of college, in my opinion. One thing that I can't, take away from, the days of when I went to college. Now, mind you, I went to college in 91 is when I graduated high school. I finished my 4-year degree by the time 1995 rolled around. Now, the internet was just kind of coming out in 1993 to 1994 was the beginning of email. I remember getting my first email in college. I went to Northern Illinois University, and I remember getting my first email, and it was kind of a big deal. And not that we checked the email very often, but it was something you had to check once a week. Back then. Now you're on your phone checking it every day, every minute, pretty much. And I remember getting that email, and that was kind of a big deal. So, and then I remember the internet kind of hit mainstream 1995. For me, that was, I was whatever, the internet, you're living your life, you're having fun, you're in your college years, and that's kind of where I wanted to start with the pluses, is that, even though the game has changed as far as the internet goes, the stuff that college gives you as a person is something that you can't get from, starting a business generally, okay? What I mean by that is, I'm sure you've heard many stories where people have met their significant other at, college or at a fraternity party, or just because they're in a fraternity, they mingled with a sorority, and then, they met each other that way. I have a lot of friends that, to this day, I mean, we're talking about, I graduated college in 1995, my 4-year degree. And, we're talking about 23 years later, I'm still getting friends of mine from college sending me business to this day. Literally, what made me kind of spark this whole video today was that I got a referral from one of my college buddies. He was in my fraternity, and he sent me a lead from a guy that, is coming to Vegas for a bachelor party of some sort. And, to this day, I'm still getting leads. It's crazy. 23 years later, I still have those relationships with these people that were in my fraternity and other friends that I knew from college. Sometimes here and there, I'll run into somebody on social media or LinkedIn or Facebook. I'll be in Vegas and I'll run into somebody I knew from college. I mean, there's something about going to like a a 4-year type of school where you have this camaraderie of like brotherhood, I guess, where you're in a fraternity, and you get those relationships with people and meet girls and friends, and these people, these relationships stick with you for the rest of your life. Okay, so in my opinion, that's a huge positive and a plus of going to college. You can't get that by like sitting in front of a computer all day generating revenue online. Unfortunately, I do a lot more computer time now than I used to. Obviously, the game has changed, but you can't go back, and you just can't formulate those kind of relationships that I gained from my college buddies. Even to this day, like, when I get a phone call from one of my old college buddies, it's just such a refreshing feeling. You think back to those days when, like, man, it was like awesome to like not have to worry about shit and be able to go to like a fraternity party on a weekend and just get crazy and have fun and enjoy your life. I mean, that's kind of like what college is. I mean, it's like living your life. Okay, so that's a huge plus. Okay. I also think that colleges are obviously very important for somebody that wants to become like a specialist. And when I say a specialist, I mean like a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, things that like require you to go through, a 4-year education, or even maybe a 6 or 8 year education to get some kind of like certificate or license to do, whatever it is that you're going to do. Okay. So obviously colleges are going to have their role for stuff like that as well. Okay, now if you're going to go to college for like, marketing, or you're planning on going into sales, nowadays with, the amount of education that's available online, books that are available, education that you can pretty much buy on Amazon, you could probably learn enough about sales and, marketing that you don't need to go to college and spend all that money. Okay, so, but it's good for doctors, lawyers, that kind of stuff, specialists. I think it's still going to have a nice role into the future for, obviously I want my doctor, if I'm getting my ankle operated on for, a break, I want that guy to have, some high degree in, orthopedics and be able to perform that surgery very well. I'm not going to go to some guy that hasn't been to school or anything like that, if you know what I mean. All right. So I also think college, one of the pluses, is good for learning social skills. Okay. You're around, you learn some social skills when you're in high school and in junior high, but when you get to that maturity level where like, okay, now I'm an adult, I've been through my, driving years, I've been through the high school and the prom and all that, stuff for graduation and whatnot. Now I'm kind of an adult. I'm living on my own. I'm not in the parents' house. I'm living with other people. Okay, now I have to like interact with other people, other like, roommates, males and females, as far as like, fraternity, sororities, or just other males and females, and just, in college, you learn like different social skills when you're in college. You actually learn how to like, drinking and whatnot. You want to be able to like handle yourself in an environment where, drinking's around. I mean, there's going to be times later in your life where you're going to be drinking at like a work function. And I've seen it before where people just make a complete idiot out of themselves. And you kind of learn not to do that kind of stuff in the college, okay? In my opinion, you're going to be around a lot of alcohol, you're going to be around a lot of parties, and, this is the time when you, like, learn how to become, like, socially, like, acceptable, I guess would be the good word. So you can't get that sitting in front of a computer, becoming an entrepreneur, honestly. You need to learn these skills, and it's important, and you can use these skills for the rest of your life in just about any business, relationship, social setting, and you learn that stuff in college. I think that's a huge plus, okay? It's also good, an environment for learning how to learn. Now, back when I went to college, okay, we didn't really have the internet. I used to go to the library and pull books out of the shelves, and we'd go through books, and that's how we'd write papers. I know it's old school. I don't look that old, but I'm 45. But, as far as, like, learning how to learn, I think that's a very big thing you learn in college. You learn how to write papers. You learn how to, basically take tests. You learn how to like, find and develop, the skills you need to like research things and learn about things. You are forced to do that because you have to. You have, papers to write, tests to take. I mean, there's things you learn how to learn. Okay, that's the best thing I think you can get out of college. It's a big plus in my opinion that you're not going to get as much in like an entrepreneurial type of environment. You're not going to be like structured to learn how to learn. Okay, it's very structured. You need to learn how to learn. Okay. You also get good at coping with pressure. Obviously, you're going to have, tests to take, deadlines, and whatnot. And this is a skill you're going to learn being in college, is that you actually like have to, follow the rules, I guess, per se, and become like you have to learn how to be able to hit those deadlines or get good grades. I mean, these are things that you learn in college that you're not going to necessarily need to learn as an entrepreneur. Okay. Again, I think it's also good in college to, get the experience and get ideas for potentially taking those ideas and using them to maybe formulate a business down the road. A couple examples is I had a number of college buddies that were in college. They were kind of like the entrepreneur guys in the fraternity house. Always kind of had like a side hustle going on, and now those guys have gone on to open up nightclub, bars, and restaurants in Chicago. Okay, and the skills that they learn in college running those side hustles, if whatever you want to call them, they took that and parlayed it into real world businesses that are doing well and successful. So it gives you ideas, it gives you experience, and a lot of people, some people just don't want to be like an entrepreneur and go down that road, and would rather just have a nice job, work your 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, have weekends off. And I think that college is a nice backbone for getting a degree to get you into a situation like that, if that's what you like. I mean, a lot of people are very happy with the job. I mean, I there's all these internet marketers out there. Oh, quit your 9 to 5 and this and that. You know what, dude? 9 to 5 is not half bad in my opinion. In some cases, okay. I work a lot of hours, generally 18 hours a day. 5-6 days a week. I work a lot of hours to run my businesses, and I'm successful, and I make a lot of money, and my companies are doing well. But at the end of the day, man, it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to work 18 hours a day on a Monday night and have pretty much no life aside from work. I mean, it's just what it is. So some people do want just a regular job. So, I think college is definitely good for that. And of course, you graduate, you get your degree, and you always got that to fall back on. I've had businesses fail in the past. Fortunately, I had businesses that were successful. There's my computer. And at the end of the day, I have a master's degree in finance, and you kind of always have that in the back of your head. Well, you know what? If something doesn't work out, I can always go back into the job market with my degrees and get a job. Okay, so I think that's a big plus. Hopefully you guys liked the pluses. If you feel free to add anything in the comments below if you think there's more pluses. But I think that's the general consensus, in my opinion, of what's good about college. Now let's talk about the minuses of college. The cost is very high these days, and the timetable is fairly long. Okay. Now, if you're a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, you're going to have to go to school for probably 6+ years in some cases, and that's a long time, and that's going to cost a lot of money these days. I mean, I don't know exactly what the average cost is per year for college, but I know it varies based on if you're a state school or a non-state school. But let's just call it $20K a year. I think that's a pretty realistic number. You're in college for 4 years, that's almost 80 grand. Okay. And if you're not making any money while you're in those, college years, that's 80 grand. You probably put yourself in debt, hence the student loan graph is going up. That's a lot. That's one of the very big minuses. Is it's expensive and it's time consuming. Okay. It takes a long time to go get those degrees, where, you could potentially buy 1 or 2 courses, and learn stuff on, online as far as marketing goes, and become an experienced internet marketer, for example, in less than 6 months, and be making a lot of money. Okay. So that's, one of the minuses. A lot of the knowledge you learn in college is general. I mean, I can remember taking English, history, psychology. Some of that stuff is good and it will help you later in life, and other stuff is not going to help you later in life. Let's be honest. I mean, am I interested in history because history tends to repeat itself? Yes. Is learning history in college going to make me money down the road? Probably not. Okay. It is what it is. General knowledge. A lot of times it's outdated material. Teachers are generally teaching from their knowledge and their material that's available to them at the time. And if it's a printed book, generally as soon as it comes off the press, it's already outdated. Okay. A lot of the stuff we do online these days, the stuff that worked even 6 months ago, is no longer working anymore. Okay. So that just shows how fast technology and things are changing on the internet, and there's no way colleges can keep up with what's going on online right now. It's just not possible. It's not realistic. I mean, they can give you the basics, and you can take the basics and roll with it when you get out into the real world and the real companies and whatnot. But generally, I think the material is probably a little bit outdated. Okay, the professors are paid employees. And what I mean here is that, these guys are on a salary. Okay, let's be real. If you're a salaried employee for a college or a company, there's not a lot of incentive for you to go out there and become like the latest and greatest and the smartest person in whatever subject you're teaching. Okay, so you're learning from somebody that's going to get their paycheck. They're going to work their Monday through Friday, and on the weekends they're doing their thing. I mean, it's just the way it is. And not that that's a bad thing. It's just that's, in my opinion, it's a little bit of a minus. You're not learning from someone that's out there on the front lines doing it every day. Okay. You're also paying, for the brick and mortar of the education. Generally, colleges, not all of them. There is online colleges and whatnot, but most of these are fairly large campuses. All those buildings cost money. The heat, the air, maintenance, the maintenance of the grounds. Everything costs money. The rent on the buildings. So you're paying for all that. That's hence one of the reasons why college costs so much. Okay. And of course, another minus is that you're not going to guarantee any kind of job when you get done. Okay, potentially you go to 4 years of school, 6 years of school, spend a bunch of money, you get out there and you just can't find a job for whatever reason. That's a minus. I mean, it is possible, and I've heard of that happening. Now, I think the unemployment rate right now is pretty low, around 4%, so it's probably less than it was. But there was a time, not too far future, when it was like 8 or 9%, and that was a whole different ballgame. So. All right, let's talk about entrepreneurship. That kind of weighs out the pluses and minuses, and then I'll wrap up with a my feeling on how you should approach somebody that's potentially going to become an entrepreneur or going to college. Okay, entrepreneur, obviously you can get it done in a quicker time frame if you laser focus on one skill and become really good at that. For example, copywriting or YouTube or Facebook advertising, all those things. You can focus on that, laser focus for 3 to 6 months. You can probably become pretty good at it and become, a specialist in that department and start making money. It's going to be less dollars in college in some cases. Okay. Now, I personally have spent more money on secondary education from like masterminds, internet gurus, and softwares, etc., than I did when I went to college. I spent a lot more actually. But that's me. I'm kind of a little crazy. I like to have the latest and greatest education. And I like to kind of buy my way to the top in a lot of places. And it's worked for me. So it is what it is. Obviously, the entrepreneur stuff, if you're buying courses and whatnot, a lot of stuff's more up to date. So you got to just make sure you do your research, follow who is the most up to date. We do have another course coming out. We're actually filming it this weekend of stuff that's working right now this month. We're on pace to have a 50K month, about 25K in profit doing affiliate marketing. And we're going to be showing you guys that in the course. So, that's an example of something that's up to date. Now, if you buy a course from someone that put it out a year ago or 2 years ago, that's probably not up to date information. Unfortunately, the internet changes, games have changed, things change very quickly. Every 3 to 6 months, there's a lot of changes on the internet. You can get quick results as an entrepreneur. You can go buy a course, you can start running some traffic, and you can actually see results right away. In some cases, very good results, okay? There's no limit on earnings. There's really no limit on earnings on either side of the fence. But when it comes to getting a job, there is kind of a limit on earnings. I mean, you're going to get maybe a salary, a bonus if you're in sales, or some kind of commission. But there's less limits here, I think, on earnings on the entrepreneur side. So I think that's a plus. And I put on there some freedom. There's always that, those internet guys that talk about the 4-hour work week, Tim Ferriss and whatnot. But let's be real, man. This is not the way things are these days. That picture of the guy playing on his laptop in a hammock on the beach, that you don't see that too often. The guys that are super successful are working their tail off, and they're making good money, but they're putting together funnels. They're building out their next product. I mean, there's a lot of time and effort involved with keeping up with the digital marketing world right now. Facebook traffic, Google, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, you name it, LinkedIn. All this stuff takes time, and to become a master at any of it, you have to spend some time learning how to do it. So the freedom, yeah, I mean, can you pick up and go over to Europe whenever you want, or Thailand, or wherever these guys like to go and hang out? I'm going to Europe this summer. Yeah, we can. Okay, I don't have to ask a boss to do any of that. So yeah, there is some freedom. But when it comes to really like being successful as an entrepreneur, you got to put in the time and the work. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. Okay. Minuses, I did kind of branch that over to this. It's usually a lot of work, and it is. It's a lot of work. Like, everybody sells you the dream, like the Shopify course or the Amazon FBA course. Horseradish, okay? Those are not easy businesses to run, okay? Yeah, every one of those guys selling you those courses probably had some success. with that particular niche, okay, whether it be a Shopify store or an Amazon FBA product, and they've made a course and they've showed how they've documented their success, and they're having, they're putting out a course and you're buying that course. What they're selling on that particular course is probably something that worked 1 or 2 or 3 years ago and is no longer working anymore, okay? Those markets become so saturated. Everybody's trying to do Shopify. Everybody's trying to do Amazon FBA. You know what? The cost per click on Facebook has probably doubled or tripled. And I know around Christmas this last year, maybe 4 or 5 times the amount it was even a year ago. Okay, if you're running Shopify and you have a product cost and you have a shipping cost and you have an advertising cost all built into this product, and then you got to have a backdoor system with emailing and upselling, there's a lot of cost and time involved to build that out. And generally the profit margins are like 20-30% if you're lucky. And that is when traffic was cheaper. Okay, now traffic's not so cheap. So the chances of you finding something like that that's going to work, again, that these guys are teaching, is probably pretty slim. Okay, that's just my professional opinion. And if you guys can believe that, you can believe it or you not want to believe it, leave a comment below. I'm okay with the people that are having success with Shopify or Amazon, and I'm sure there's a lot more people that are not having success with Shopify or Amazon. Okay, that would be my guess. Okay, there's a very low social aspect of becoming an entrepreneur. I spend literally like sometimes the entire day consumed in front of a computer, and the only time I get away, I go to the gym and maybe listen to some YouTube or some webinars while I'm at the gym. And really I don't mingle with anybody while I'm here at the computer. Here and there I'm on Skype with somebody or do a video chat, but there's a very low social aspect. You're not really gaining social skills and stuff sitting in front of your computer all day. Okay, there's a ton of computer time. I mean, that's a minus in my opinion. And it can be costly. I mean, to get something like an Amazon store up and running and working after testing and failing, Shopify, same thing, testing and failing, affiliate marketing, testing and failing, it can be costly, okay? Starting your own business can be costly. I've had businesses that I've dumped $150K into that failed, and I lost all that money. I mean, it happens. That's part of being an entrepreneur is, it's definitely not an easy thing to do. So, keep that in mind. I think it's a big minus. You got to continue your education as an entrepreneur. I mean, in order to be competitive in a changing environment, you have to adapt to change. So I think that's a little bit of a minus in some cases. A lot of people, when they go to school for 4 years, they get out, they get a job, they're happy, they're getting married, they're having kids, they're living their life. Whereas a guy like me who's on the front line of success and education, I'm literally like I'm still buying courses. I'm still learning stuff. I'm still like having to stay up on this stuff and learning new traffic sources and diversifying my portfolio of knowledge to, continue my business and continue moving it forward. So I think it's a little bit of a minus, honestly, because like you have to make some sacrifices to be an entrepreneur and be successful in today's environment. It's just the way it is. And, another minus is an ever-changing market. What was working a year ago for us and even 6 months ago for us is not working now. Now we've found something else that is working, but it's an ever-changing market, and I think it's a lot of work to stay on top of an ever-changing market. So, I think that's a minus. So at the end of the day, basically you have your pluses and your minuses of each thing. I think, if you're going to give somebody advice or you're getting ready to make a decision whether to go to college or become an entrepreneur, I would look at the option of maybe doing both. Go to college, get the social and the experience and, the learning, systems in place and understand how, all that works. And then, potentially buy a course like our affiliate marketing course, for example, and learn how to affiliate market, while you're not in school and not studying. And then you kind of have the best of both worlds. That's one way that you can approach this. Another way is to, decide if, owning a business and becoming your own boss and making, in a lot of cases what happens is when you become your own boss is you end up just creating a job for yourself is what you end up doing. You don't necessarily create a business, you create a job for yourself. And if you are taken out of that equation, guess what? The business is going to fail. I'm working really hard right now to try to create a business that I can step away from and it's still going to run. It's not easy to do because no one's ever going to do it as good as you do. I mean, it's just the way it is. You can find maybe somebody that can do it 80% as well as you, but they're never going to be 100%. No way. So, you gotta look at those aspects. I think, my best advice is to give everybody, have them watch this video, go through it, and write down the positives on their end, and the negatives on their end, and really make a decision that I think could affect you for the rest of your life. I mean, that experience and the relationships and the time I had in college, I can never duplicate that again. I mean, those were great years of my life that I'll always remember. And looking back, I was just like, man, what an awesome time of life that was. I didn't have to worry about a cell phone every 5 seconds. I was having fun on the weekends. I was, having experiences, going to football games. I remember when I graduated college from Northern, I went to North Carolina for a job, and I moved to a college town. It was Greenville, North Carolina. It was East Carolina University. And I was going to the football games on the weekend. So it was like I was working, but still got to enjoy that college life for like another 2 more years. And it was a lot of fun, man. I look back and I'm like, wow, what an awesome time of life that was as well. And, things haven't been as fun once you start owning your own business. I mean, yeah, I do. Don't get me wrong. I have a nightclub and VIP hosting company in Las Vegas, and I get to hang out at the nicest nightclubs and party pretty much every weekend or whenever I want on the weekends. But, it's still not as like, fun as those days back in the college days, man. Those college days were just like, you had no responsibility. You just basically could enjoy yourself, get good grades, and like, do what you needed to do to get through college, and just the relationships you got. They're still to this day, they're still paying dividends. It's like you can't duplicate that. So, my best advice is give somebody all the options. Write it down, take the negatives, the positives. You can use my chart here if you want to, kind of get some of the the positives and negatives for both, and make your decision that's best for you. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you. You need to do what's what you feel is going to be the best for you in your future. You only get to do this one time around. If you go the entrepreneurial route and you do that for 3 or 4 years, the chances of you going back to college are pretty slim. You're probably never going to do it. So, you really only get one shot at this. So make your decision to, do what's best for you. And hope you enjoyed today's presentation. If you would, leave me a comment below, smash that like button, hit the subscribe and bang that notifications bell. The Marketing Meathead is out, and we'll talk to everybody later. Thanks.